the issue of Galamsey. Na me busa se anyu aso. Mampeni neniji adwuma a wode hye sojafo insane ne oma ya kwakodu ana. Ade we sha se kan se sa 100 soldiers ya deploy. Enya de betimi asesa enema bebresa because we've been to the place before where we had a lot more soldiers at the same time fighting Galamsey in different areas. And then we have 100. As 100, you know, they are moving from one place to the other, one place to the other. And in the case of Achim Nkroni Biso, Omu Kobrim Ekopamo, among four Shishi or Mushamfan, just about a week after. Na nipadodoa ababebu nsuo no so no na ebosumpo echen ne first one no omo kokopamo omo hyehye omo ehyan fans ne omo niema na me krampa ye ne small scale miners omo task force a omo atia omo so support a soldier fu kasa omo say Galamsey for no omo ti nsuo no so no omo adopted different strategies a omo dey outwit security agencies no omo timi senke shamfan no kwhye nsuo na se. And I'm frank, yes, I'm a panic. Almost sinke shamfan no kwhye nsuo na se. Na omeja baakumi enu nsebia ase no na hodi ni mo hyeda nsuo na fault so honi ade gu nsuo nani. Nti mo ba mo abesese ne sisi nsuo nani na ye musama ye bibia ama. Makọ no na adwumre bọkọ no omo aye na shamfan ni nyina san ba bete nsuo no ani. And this is what the task force are. Small scale miners nati omo de support to Galamsey asojafo omo eka, which means that neyeye bia no Galamsey yes no so esesa omo modus operandi. But I pray say this issue of Galamsey will not be lost on us as a people, because obeka say as a media no your attention has shifted to the politics of the day. But you could also understand and can understand and be able to appreciate the Biayansu free bar. Because you see, we are news people. And I said, Eko Subiano, ye bo a woman near the Chiroman for na a home commodino so ye boa Emma and Komono Ekoso. It is everywhere. When big things happen or new things happen, the media normally would shift attention to those matters because currency is indeed the whole bottom line of news. Say adesi fufro anasa adebi koso say you would expect the media to gravitate towards that. One would say enu so nkyere say other important matters e wo no e wo say iyi eni free so. I was saying when you're coming at the same time. But the challenge as well for us is that we are in a news market and we are also in competition. We are also looking for relevance. And it is across the media spectrum of Ghana. Enti mo de beche na matia sekakra say ase attention ni na akwakodi the politics of the day in somewhere ekoso ewo mrashibegefie. But you see another reason here akwa say media no kra no yenhye na Galamsey nsemu biem, and even the entire nation na kra adwene no as a shift from Galamsey, and the entire nation adwene shift it is because the media has decided to focus on other matters, because regularly no yen start setting agenda no edema or mine mo odwendwene ho, and so share agenda setting theory of media, it will explain that to you. Inti largely no so minor adwene ko be fa ko a obebusa say what is the media putting out and what's the agenda the media is setting. Inti media to mu as media people say ye can be na the focus on Galamsey so akofom because our attention has shifted to other matters. And no enkyere say ye nim adwuma. Indeed, sada etie e wo adwuma ni mu. We all gravitate towards where the news is. Now ya you see CNN4 ediomani see Israel, Hamas, any Iran, any Lebanon and some so hurricane Haiti US. They have toned down on those matters and they turn their attention to the issue of hurricane and how it's affecting people and all of that. So it's a regular thing with the media. But adeɛ baako ama ene media for no so dodo na including some of us yen shada enye too passionate about the issue of our fight against Galamsey. It's what organized labor did. And indeed, when you Ghana for you know mood the mood of the nation and they send you na amount for aye crado say you best support it any move to deal with this canker and the many heyano. Now organized labor heighten your hopes, raising your hopes. And we can rely on them to force the government to do what it ought to do. Now, na abana montuo kakra ya wotu yenti adwunepo ebeto ho a ema Ghana for enya awehemu se adwumayefo ebetie gina mayen no omo ankasa hwie nsuo edigu se agya no so. It is a huge contribution to why the mood of the nation departed from Santokwano. And organized labor, I am expecting, say, one more follow the fight. Send your president a wage, may without going into the trenches. It is clear, say, in Tokwana president, could this time around against Galamsey, it is not effective. It is not even making the headlines. And it is partly because we are facing a threat. We are facing a threat. To the extent that enna metiha no amanu gbegbe amekana parliament ade omu ye kra kirese parliament ade a wo ye mpo ebe affect LI a wo say ye revoke e ho kwensi enna me producer send me message you studio say Jack honorable apanyama kenkura ka say attorney general fa any processes a ode ba be revoke LI ne e ma meto machine be fie up or down. And when I learned that, I was like, oh man, up till now, the AG and kickstarting processes are, or they call revoking LI now, Emma to me, ama yako tu femo goodie ewo in forest reserves. Enti, ubebusa who say, Mampeni ayene se yen jintum si ye bribi na organized labor kumambra from na omunyoma sumdwe kakra na sana de ne kwakoye ohwe ni na sana de ne kwakoye se organized labor for ye dede na wunim se election so ba and ye di agura election be me lose power ni ade entino yempe biribi nkangu wo mo asomu na yen hyedanye se ye biribi afaade no ho na anka wo mo resend na anka strike ni de omu nyimfiri and the government has succeeded and I dug my heart out to President Akufo-Addo for achieving that because organized labor allowed themselves to be hoodwinked by some of these measures. And one would have thought, say, Anka, one of the first things we would see the AG do when Parliament reconvened was to lay the processes and answer documents before Parliament. Actually, say, a buy no day airline buy and answer was sign. Basically, that process has not even begun. And then the Parliament use sooner, one so more suspension until further notice you. Which means that say Parliament kosotna efie until when na omobeba sa airline na ebe revoke sa revocation of airline no enya dia ebeba so ne na baso china edi agro kra this 8th Parliament will pass na ye revoke airline here. But you see, the president would have made a political achievement. Was succeeding in averting a strike. Ebema the government are unpopular. I want the potential to even make the party lose the 2024 elections. Yakoye anasi ebaye. And it appears to say I Ghana na sana de na kwakoye neme bi wo hodo mo ye ni je ho chen bi no mu. But I'll call on my colleagues in the media again. Say, let's focus or let's refocus. Yes, let's refocus on the important issues again. Let's refocus on the important issues. Say Parliament because so says no be na mbebo nkro ni say ya say ampe no mpeso mkobo na no ya ade si ewie na ayi mrahebedwafo ni bi ato santene match so mo cost match so mo ko hefon o mo match twa puse the new ask yourselves as nkwada bi edi agro kase nkwada bi edi agro. So for me it's about time as media Yebisa ya say, do we just want to chase every news or assembly a topical? And I said we want to focus on the important issues because you see, say practicing media in a developing country, your approach to media is different from practicing media in a developed environment. In a developed environment, institutions, ejina omo de omo ho omo ye adwuma no objectively enti in most cases omo need some of the fundamental issues ye grapple with enti they can afford to look at issues bia obefo say no too high dodo issues of public interest several just a few people middle class kind of topics. You can understand say in a developed environment people may want to practice media like that, but I was saying no more practicing media in a developing environment in a developing country. You're setting priorities based on our unique circumstance. Tibini anu sem chofo misusu say yentina sibie mienhwe because we cannot practice media in Ghana like anybody would practice media in the US. We have key institutional lapses. There were poverty issues to deal with. There were basic health matters countries ni bebre etwemu wo ho. So, media misusu say, if Parliament want to do what they want to do, omo person mo ye mu fi, omo go omo hwani mu ase, na omo ye ni person mo ya, the media can decide to forget about them and focus on issues edi impuntuo mapa ebe bre omanfo. Because debia meka say, apart from our traditional roles of educating, entertaining, and informing, I have come up with a fourth. Media misusu say students of journalism ought to consider that fourth, and that is advocacy. Yabe inform you, yabe entertain you, but who is speaking for the people? Who is fighting for the people? Wana na eka samo ema ehiafo no. Wana na wono mu a amanfo tietia womo fa ahodie so no omo beka ma womo eskafo no ni womo mkura to media. They have access to the media. Some can even buy the media. Ebi betimi ato media, ebi kura create womo media. But the ordinary person now only need that well without only says cano only sa connection no enye kofo blo kromo anu a asamo ba eno ane so friend adamfo bi na adamfo bi afro bi wa connecting na ma editor bi ana producer bi ana presenter bi wanya obi ama obeka na asemo ama no. But there remain a huge chunk of us nobody is even talking about it. Hospital na so apana hulu baby a so advocacy is indeed a part of journalism. media mesusu say ye nuanom sem twerefo moma ye refocus na ye hwesa ne ma no because in advanced communities you won't find the advocacy that much because any man na be advocate wo ho no o matwamu wo hospital beds abu oxygen abu school for na form ntwra de nkwada ko school mu de aduane pa enti no omo focus ne ye Israel koto ahye Ukraine so can say Iran so ana Russia akoto ahye Ukraine so sane ma no omo ka ho nsem omo twemu wo baby ayen bre no enti yen no baby ayen sha se free no we cannot be focusing on the issues one more practicing media in advanced communities focusing on. Our circumstance is entirely different, and therefore we need to refocus, realign our thinking. Because Ghana is what it is today, largely because of your contribution as media people. Largely. Well, there is a part of it other groupings blame ni biama womo. But to the extent that yen in some way the two man for him and the bear front burner issues emo dwene ho emo di hu nkomo no mesusu say I was say you're very careful the kinds of things as media you be focusing on. Say omobeko parliament akosi boxing ring aginemu abobo wo mo ho a eyo masem but mesusu say yendu sa level no yendu sam pempenso no yenni ma wo mo na yemfa yem platforms yemfa yem newspapers yemfa yem TV shows and stations yemfa yem radio programs yemfa yem social media no and can somewhere de improve to be bre o manfo nankasa so that together we will lift ourselves out of fundamental issues na ye womu no na yesu sa advanced level ni bi then we can pay attention to what is happening in Togo, what is happening in parliament and esa niema no to me the mesre we are the say abianum sem twerefo we have a nation to build say aban ni ho na media ay effective and functioning well one yakura we hunu mposa aban ni ho yes ena okuni ni bi ka emri bi atwamu say ono be prefer democracy media na vibrant eye adwuma mpo meko aban ni ho because when the media is focused on the right things and the right issues it helps the public. And let's reset our focus on the key issues. Majority of us media practitioners are as vulnerable as one more. Almost ever from ho. Unsuofo na nkofo no mu nkurankura na se no eba yensem twerefo yeba nimbi. Heavy metals na ewura yenu animu no eba yenyina yeba nibi. Enti yebeja sa issues wenyina to ho ne yakase because ye pay news ye pese ye current ye pese ye relevant intino ye forget sa nyeme na ye fi anindi eye politics de chia na eno so here but we must not over focus on those is that an expression like that? We must not focus on Sadianu too much to the detriment of the key fundamental issues confronting your mind. And a production meeting, programming, it was one of the issues we discussed. So have we sat down to realize, including us, that I'm saying, Komono Crown, I say, ye near Frihuna, ye be a near Kokosi, one more pre to me, one pre supremacy over each other. Forgetting, say, be be one more air threatening yenina. And they Emrashebeja for no more Mrashebeja fear. Galamsey ntokwasi ombi omanu tu mu de nene eka bie omu nyina ejai ekopre supremacy. Because it appears that the politicking is more important. Esne our survival. Ewe me baya me besre me nuanom semtwerefo. Say let's refocus. Yen sign enhwe biem. Na yemfa yani ensi the key important issues are ebeboa oman no na ama oman no akonkan na akonanim. So I'm calling on the media, say let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to the issue of Galamsey. Pressure ne wasi esan hwenye elubiem a ye hwenye elubiem. Aya say the coalition against Galamsey, in fact the media coalition against Galamsey, any members of organized labor. And I mean can say aya me demum. And yes, I am a desa woman can organize labor home because the credibility crisis are at to organize labor no. It been to the media coalition against Galamsey. That coalition is still intact and very much focused. And the least as media people we can do is to support our own coalition. Yeah, nyati coalition no. Say you take this coalition to deal with Galamsey by putting pressure, positive pressure on the government of the day. Say our responsibility towards the people, our responsibility towards protecting our river bodies, our responsibility towards protecting our lands. So organized labor, ebe compromising womu. Na womu aye politics, no ma ye nyombeye, aye nyoma ye na, womu nye. But we, the media, cannot disappoint Amagana. We cannot disappoint ourselves. We cannot. So media no so yes idea. Now the people of Ghana have no hope. They have no hope. Of course, media it is largely driven by interest. And Ghana political interest appears to be driving content in Bibia. Intimately, I say some of my colleagues will never take the fight to the government because of ownership. And one more stations in your and then newspapers in your modia because the na wajumeni and now wajumura or affiliation to the party in power. Intino as media no wo koba ban na chi depression ni bi koto ban ni so ya na akwaye ensem bebre metiase sa. But we can strike a good balance and be able to execute our job in a way a dim faso be bread ordinary Ghanaian. A buying responsibility. It's a core responsibility. But you see, when we can quite chilly bra, Nasma Nanka, I Frank can be a coye meeting, I make us a coca see baby, I made the assembly for a ban. Mamma Fanchewa Namensre Minianum. Let's get back to the basics. Let's come back and find out. So President Adia Waye, you know, so be a ban for Swana. Anaya croc the John. Ya de dada womo. Yan can bribi nye bribi na Ghana form of Wofuno or Makuma Bravo form because a sa media no subeto sa line no inti media no to line the anache say adjobro na ebano na ono so twifem boko just because they just want to win an election. Can we be focused on these matters? I believe we can. I believe we can. Issues of corruption. Yajaika. But corruption is denying millions of people development. Can we go back to the basics? And I'm talking to journalists and media practitioners with conscience. You may need your conscience in a woo because of a com. Because of a com, you may be conscience in a woo. But if what I am saying can prick your conscience, glory be to God. But your conscience now to the extent saying you can point me pursue, then you are not my focus. My focus is on that media practitioner and journalist who has conscience and believes that obetimi use a professional a contributing to getting government to do the right thing.